So as we discussed that in the k-means algorithm, the poor initialization of the cluster means can lead to poor or uninteresting clustering. Leads to uninteresting results. So k-means plus algorithm addresses this issue of initialization of the initial set of cluster means. So in the k-means algorithm, the means were initialized purely randomly. But in k-means plus algorithm, this initialization is semi-random. It's still random, but the structure in the randomness. So that's why we are calling it semi-random, basically, just for the sake of differentiate the two process of pure random initialization, where we just pick any values of the mean vectors as initial cluster means, versus initializing the means randomly, but with a much proper heuristics and with much proper structuredness into the selection process of the initial means. So to understand the initialization step of the k-means plus algorithm, we'll have to understand a heuristic known as the furthest first heuristic. So k-means plus algorithm doesn't use a furthest first heuristic because the furthest first heuristic is a deterministic process. So k-means plus algorithm adds a bit of randomness to it. But to understand that process, how does the k-mean plus algorithm initializes the mean, we have to understand the furthest first heuristic. So that will give us a very clear understanding as to what is happening mathematically inside the k-means plus algorithms means initialization step. So this heuristic, so if we take the furthest first heuristic, so furthest first heuristics allows picking initial means as far as from each other as possible. But the k-means plus algorithm adds a bit of randomness to the furthest first heuristic, and we get a semi-random initialization process for the initial cluster means. So the rest of the algorithm is going to be the same as a k-means algorithm. The only difference between the k-means and the k-means plus algorithm is the initialization step of the means of the clusters. So now let's discuss the initialization step of the k-means plus algorithm. In k-means plus. So to understand this, we will understand what the furthest first heuristic is, taking a numerical example as well.